The Los Angeles Lakers have really struggled to close out this NBA season, and it can honestly be said it is because of a lot of particular reasons that aren't really in their control. For example, Anthony Davis gets injured in February. LeBron James gets injured shortly after Anthony Davis gets injured. So now the Lakers are playing without two of their star players. The Lakers are also dealing with COVID. We all know the Lakers don't have depth. The Lakers bench unit, it's made up of good players, but those good players aren't really able to mesh together chemistry-wise. Those good players need LeBron and Anthony Davis to play even better than they're playing right now. We all know this. So what is going on with the Lakers that they're so unsuccessful this season, but last season they literally made a championship run? Some of you might argue, oh, the Lakers last season, 2020, they were struggling. They were struggling in the bubble. They couldn't get off to a good start in the bubble, and they played terrible in the first 8 games. Yes, but there's a huge difference here. So for the bubble, the Lakers were playing with their entire roster. You noticed that, right? So the Lakers had all of their guys. No one was injured. No one was out. They had their whole team. The only difference here is in 2021, the Lakers are barely getting reps in with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. So their team is playing a style of basketball that is not going to be played when their star players get back. The way the Lakers play with just Anthony Davis is going to be completely different than how they're going to play when LeBron James gets there. For example, once LeBron gets there, the Laker players are going to become more spot-up shooters rather than create your own shot. They don't have to make their own shot because they'll have LeBron James setting them up. So the difference here is what is making last year's team so much better than this year's team when this year's team has more talent than they did last year. The reason why last year's team was so successful is for a plethora of reasons. We can all literally point them out. One, they have LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Having these two players, your team is almost invincible. You're guaranteed to make it at least past the first round, if not the conference finals. You're guaranteed. Not that it could happen, no. You're going to go to the semi or conference finals with LeBron and Anthony Davis, two generational talents. Two, the Lakers were legit. They had real players that had experience and that they knew what they were doing down the stretch. For example, guys like Rajon Rondo, guys like Danny Green, guys that have been in championship situations and know what it takes to win. You could even say JaVale McGee. Yeah, we might clown him, but the dude has 3 rings, so clearly he's doing something right. So you bring these 3 players, to give you a small sample size, onto your roster. These 3 players are going to help guide the team in the right direction. This year, the Lakers don't have any of those 3 players. Now, the Lakers have been so successful because of these 3 players. Now, some of you might say, oh, Danny Green is such a bum. Danny Green missed the game winner. Bro, Danny Green wasn't even that bad. Yes, maybe he struggled a bit on offense, and it did slow down the game because if Danny Green is struggling, it changes how defenses look at him. Danny Green was great on defense for the Lakers. Oftentimes, he'd have to guard their second best player. So the man was doing something good to stay on the floor. Yeah, he missed the game-winning shot, but in the end, the Lakers still won the championship because he was a part of that team. Now, we talk about Rondo. Rondo was the most essential piece to this Lakers team in 2020. You could literally argue Rondo was more important than LeBron or Anthony. No, I'm just kidding. Anyone who says that is stupid. Come on. We're not about to say Rondo is better than LeBron and Anthony Davis. People really argue that. So Rondo was clearly the 3rd best player on this team, and that showed in the playoffs. See, when you have Rondo, we all know Rondo doesn't care. Rondo's not going to play during the regular season, so this could be one of the reasons why they were so bad in those 8 games before the bubble playoffs began. Rondo was terrible in these games, but once the playoffs come around, playoff Rondo gets activated, and he got activated. He's one of the reasons why they won the championship. He was the playmaker that the Lakers were looking for the entire season and since last season. You remember the media, oh, the Lakers need a playmaker. They're so trash. No, they always had him. They just needed the right time to play him. JaVale McGee's a glue guy. That's what you could argue. JaVale McGee brings the whole team together. Even if it's through his vlogs, we've all watched his vlogs. JaVale McGee brings his team together, and you can see that on and off the court. He's a motivator. He's someone that can really help the team just by bringing people together. So, already you see those 3 guys off the board. They're not on the team anymore. JaVale's in Denver, Rondo's on the Clippers, and now Danny Green is in the Sixers. So clearly, the Lakers are missing these 3 players. Now, they replaced these 3 players with Ben McLemore, Wesley Matthews, Andre Drummond, Montrezl Harrell, Marc Gasol, and Dennis Schroeder. So Clearly, the Lakers have gotten better players and have gotten somewhat younger players than what they had before. The reason why that 2020 team was so successful is literally just because of chemistry. Talent, yes, in LeBron and Anthony Davis, but if you look at that Laker team, they weren't an elite, talented team like, for example, the Clippers. The Clippers in 2020 were one of the most talented teams roster-wise on paper in the NBA. And it's clear, but they lost. Why? Because they didn't have chemistry. They didn't have the togetherness. They didn't understand what it took to play together. And they weren't holding each other accountable. They weren't helping each other as much as they should have. Now, the Lakers, having a roster not as good as the 2020 Clippers, they won the championship and beat the Nuggets, who were the team that beat the Clippers. How? Because they had chemistry. They knew how to play together. They knew each other's games. They knew each other's flaws and weaknesses. And they knew how to best put their teammates in the right situation to win games. That Laker team had chemistry, and that was the most important thing that this team had. They all played together. The issue with the Lakers this year in 2021 is that they don't have the same chemistry as they did last year. They don't understand each other's games as much as they did last year, because you got to think about it. They got basically a brand new roster, and then they had LeBron and Anthony Davis. At first, they were steamrolling. They were second in the West. So clearly this team isn't a team of bums. This team was going where we expected them. We expected the Lakers to repeat. Everyone had the Lakers as favorites. But the reason why they're going so slow now and why they're slowing down simply because LeBron and Anthony Davis haven't been able to play. The reason why they haven't been able to play is out of their control. It's not their fault they couldn't play games. They got injured. But once these two get back, the roster is going to look completely different in terms of how they play on the court. Their play styles have to mesh with LeBron. If their play styles don't mesh with LeBron, then it's not going to be successful. That's the thing. So if LeBron plays, yes, he makes the whole team better. He makes everyone better. But this team isn't used to playing with Anthony Davis and LeBron at this point of the season when it most matters. Ultimately, it's going to be their downfall. One, you're going to have a LeBron that's not 100%. He's already said he doesn't feel 100%. That's not me doubting his greatness. That's just me being honest. He's not 100%, and can LeBron still make it to the finals and win a championship? Yeah, it's LeBron James. It's what he does. And then they have Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis dropping 42 points last night. Dude was a monster. And then the second one is Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis gets injured pretty often. So, I mean, I hate when he gets injured because it makes for bad basketball and bad reviews. So, I don't like when he gets injured, but we got to be honest. He gets injured at least once or twice in the playoffs. Last year he got injured, and he had to play through injuries in the finals. So, Anthony Davis is also one of the reasons why they're going to struggle this season. And then third, I would have to say it's chemistry. Chemistry is going to be one of the biggest downfalls for this team. Now, the reason as to that is because this team hasn't had enough reps together. This team hasn't played together enough. They're going to have the same situation that the Brooklyn Nets had. The Nets, star power, super loaded. And then the Lakers, their bench is basically a brand new bench that has to adjust and learn how to play with each other. Both of those teams haven't been able to play as much as they need to. Now, yeah, LeBron is great. KD is great. They can all wheel their team to a finals appearance. But the level of difficulty that it'll be taking a team that has no chemistry on both sides to the NBA Finals will be extremely difficult for both sides. Call me a LeBron hater if you will. Call me a Laker hater. Look, I'll be on record saying this. You can record me. You can scream. Just know, if the Lakers make the NBA Finals and win the championship, I personally believe that would be one of the greatest championship runs in NBA history, simply because they'd be battling through a heavy Western Conference, battling through contender after contender, making the finals, facing another contender, while having AD and LeBron injured and your team lacking chemistry. So, I would happily admit that would be one of the greatest runs in NBA history. I'll give you guys all that. Do I think the Lakers will be successful for the 2021 season? I don't think they're going to win the championship. Sincerely, I don't think they'll win it simply because of those three issues. Chemistry, Anthony Davis injuries, LeBron injuries. LeBron already said he's not 100%. So, if LeBron was to not make the finals and lose in the first, second, or third round, you can't hold that against his legacy. Every great player is going to go through down years. If LeBron makes the playoffs and he loses in the second round, it's not a mark on his legacy. The dude is already one of the greatest of all time. That's what I think about the Lakers, the 2020 Lakers versus the 2021 Lakers. So I guess just let me know what you think in the comments on if you think that last year's Lakers were complete bums and that they only won the finals just because of the bubble. I mean, if you say that, you're kind of stupid. Or tell me if you think this year's Lakers will be just as successful as last season's. It'll just be a little bit harder for them. So like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'm out.